This stonework path leads visitors into Katsura Imperial Villa, which has remained virtually intact since it was built in the 17th century. In Japanese traditional belief, stones have spirits and are important elements. This bridge and finger of land in the pond represent in miniature a seaside location, Amano Hashidate, famous for its scenic beauty. As you walk around it, the pond seems to disappear from view, then reappears with an entirely different aspect, as if you were seeing a different body of water. The villa is 17 acres, but seems much larger. The landscape architecture is carefully designed to create changing views and environments. This house was built to hold the memorial tablets of the Katsura family ancestors. The main house was the home of royal princes. It is simple in design both outside and inside, because the emphasis is on the surrounding natural beauty. We went for lunch to a traditional restaurant, Shimogamo Saryo, and on the way crossed the Kamo River, near where children play on large stepping stones, many of which are in the shape of turtles and birds. At the restaurant, we enjoyed a kaiseki multi-course meal of beautifully prepared scallop fish cakes, yellowjack, squid, eel, salmon, duck, mackerel, and crab, complemented with unique and savory vegetables, then finished off with a scrumptious square of matcha white cacao fudge. To see Mount Fuji, we went to Hakone District, about 2 hours northeast of Kyoto by Shinkansen, the so-called bullet train. The Tokaido line, begun in 1964, was the first high-speed train in Japan. The N700 series, seen here, can accelerate to 285 kilometers per hour in just 3 minutes and cruises along in complete comfort. The distance we traveled was about 400 kilometers, so the average speed, including several stops along the way, was 200 kilometers per hour. It's not cheap. The round trip cost $500 for the two of us in second class, with reserved seats. Japan is a volcanic archipelago, so you are never far from hills and mountains. It's 10 times more densely populated than the United States. Because so much of Japan is hilly or mountainous, though, it's even more crowded than the statistics would suggest. Close to 100% of the population lives in urban areas. From the Shinkansen, we took a local train and then this funicular railway, which they call a cable car, for a 10-minute ride rising 200 meters at a steep grade. There are 2 trains running on a single track, one going up while the other goes down, with a short section of double track where they pass. Then we took this cable car, which they call a ropeway, though it's technically a funitel because it hangs from 2 cables to give it greater stability. A 5-minute ride takes you up to Owakudani, where you can get off and see Mount Fuji. The ride up has pleasant views. Owakudani, which means Great Boiling Valley, is a 3,000-year-old volcano with sulfur vents and hot springs. Our hearts leapt as Mount Fuji came into view. The perfectly symmetrical cone of the ancient volcano is truly stunning. From the station, the sight of the majestic colossus fully lives up to the hype. From Owakudani, we took the ropeway down to Lake Ashi. From there, we took a cruise across the scenic lake on board an ersatz pirate ship. Unlike Caribbean pirates, the crew were as polite and friendly as everyone else we met in Japan. The lake lies in the caldera of a volcano that last erupted 800 years ago. From the other side of the lake, there are more nice views of Mount Fuji. By the end of the day, after a harrowing bus ride on a winding road back down the mountain, we were very glad to be getting on the comfortable Shinkansen. We can't find anything online about this charming little temple identified on Google Maps as Shinzenko-ji, but it's well worth a stop while visiting the other larger temples in the area. Like all the temple gardens we visited, it's meticulously and lovingly maintained. During our visit, workers were busy cleaning and fussing over every detail. It's perhaps ironic that this natural beauty is achieved only with constant attention. The highlight, though, is this exquisite koi pond. Koi are carp bred to produce a plethora of amazing colors and patterns, and these are the most wonderful we saw in Kyoto. This bridge leads to the Imakamano Kanan-ji Temple, which is supposed to be the place you go to cure headaches. Actually, if beauty, peacefulness, and tranquility can cure headaches, any of the temple gardens we visited should do the trick. On the way to Nanzen-ji, a major temple, we encountered the smaller Buddhist temple of Shinjo-in. We were pleasantly surprised to find such a tranquil place off the beaten path, to spend an hour all to ourselves. This site has everything that the popular temples have: lily pond with koi, moss, maple trees and sculpted pines, Zen garden, stone paths, torii gate, ancient buildings, but without the crowds. We stumbled on a couple of temples that aren't on the usual lists of tourist destinations, and wonder how many lesser-known places like this may be scattered around Kyoto, waiting to be discovered. This is the entrance to one of the best temples for autumn colors, Tenjuan. We were there just at the right time, with leaves in full color. From here, you have a good view of Nanzen-ji, which is right next door. Notice the evergreens tucked among the maples. You won't find pine trees shaped like this growing in the wild. We saw workers at a couple of temples plucking individual pine needles, like women pluck eyebrows. Pine trees in Japanese gardens require detailed care, such as trimming buds, needle grooming, and bark removal and cleaning to create their distinctive look. The Japanese are said to have a peculiar sense of humor. They don't tell jokes like in the West, but they do like to place humorous features in the landscape. Tourist sites usually have arrows pointing the direction of the tour. The circular path surrounding this pond has signs pointing endlessly around the loop. Unless you are clever enough to figure it out, you might spend a very long time here. We imagined Buddhist novices chanting in a circle, not allowed to leave until they achieve enlightenment. The current buildings of Nanzenji were built in the 16th century, but this important Zen temple has existed here since 1264. The aqueduct, built in 1890, brings water to the temple from a nearby lake. Its 22-year-old designer proclaimed at the time that architecture should be perfect from any perspective. From this Zen garden, named Young Tigers Crossing the Water, we passed more autumn leaves before leaving via a hall with a lovely view where visitors are welcome to scheduled tea ceremonies.